Hey guys, so today is lesson 1 of the video series that we're going to be doing. And today what we're going to talk about is just about whole steps and half steps. We're going to talk about notes maybe later, or maybe you already know a whole lot about notes. But I just wanted to talk about what really helped me break down a lot of the things that I was learning, because I forgot about whole steps and half steps because I hadn't taken piano lessons or anything for, I don't know, like 5, 6, 7 years. And so when I got into this program, it was really confusing until I remembered this, and it helped me out a whole lot. So whole steps and half steps. Here we go. Let's turn to the keyboard. Start talking about it. There's my guitar. Hope you enjoyed that. Okay. All right. So here's what we've got. Whole steps and half steps are really easy to understand. We're going to talk about half steps first. Why? Because 2 halves equal a whole, right? So basically what a half step is it's a note from one note to the very next note. So if you look at this here, this is the note C, right? You can see that. It's pretty simple. And from C to C sharp or D flat, that is a half step. Why? Because there's no other note in between the two. They're right next to each other. And I mean, that's pretty much it. There's no other note in between. Now, that's 1 half step, right? Pretty simple. The same thing goes for if you're going from D to D flat or C sharp. Half step, right? Now, let's take that and make a whole, right? So we've got C to C sharp, that's 1 half. Then we've got C sharp to D, that's 2 halves. So we've got a whole. C to D is a whole step, right? Pretty simple. Breaks it down, super simple. 2 half steps equal a whole. Now, a lot of people get confused because they think that there has to be a black note in between 2 white notes to make a whole step, and that's pretty much true. But what a lot of people think is that a white step from a black step, or white step from a white note from a black note, is the only type of half step that we can have, which isn't true. If you go from a B to a C, is there any note in between there? No, there's not, so it's a half step. If you go from an E to an F, is there any black note in between there? No, so it's a half step as well. And it's pretty easy from there. As long as you can remember those two, that this from a B to a C is a half step and from an E to an F is a half step, you're gravy, you're fine. But you just always need to remember that anytime there's a note in between a note, that it is a whole step. Now, here's where it might get a little confusing, and I'm going to explain this really quick because I don't want to take up too much of your time, but from a C to a C sharp to a D sharp, is that a whole step or a half step? It's a whole step, and here's why. Because there's a note in between. You've got C sharp to D sharp. 2 halves make a whole. Super simple, right? And as soon as you can gather that, you can apply it anywhere on the keyboard, right? So you've got F sharp to a G sharp. You've got a note in between these two, right? Which one is it? The note G. So it's pretty simple, and it makes a lot of sense. Same thing goes for if you're going from, like, let's say, sorry, my computer almost turned off, an F to an A. Super simple, right? What is that? Whole step. Why? Because there's a note in between. G sharp to an A sharp. What's that? Whole step. G sharp to an A, half step. So that pretty much breaks down half steps and whole steps. If you're a little bit confused, feel free to comment, and I'll explain a little bit better in the next video, or I'll explain it to you personally. Message you about it, whatever you need. I'm here to help out, and I just want you guys to be able to succeed. The reason that I'm doing this whole video series is basically because there's a lot of people that go to school and they think that they can't figure something out, and then they just end up giving up or whatever the case is, or they get into this idea that it's just way too hard, and they go online and they try and figure it out, and there's just a lot of crappy websites out there that don't explain stuff really well. So that's why I'm here. to give you the best, easiest, most understandable knowledge. So we'll talk to you later and see you guys tomorrow in the next video. Bye-bye.